What exactly is the difference between a unilateral contract and a bilateral contract? This can be pretty confusing for beginners, but by the end of this video, hopefully the difference will become very clear to you. Okay, so before I discuss the difference between these two, let me just remind you of the fact that uni means one and bi means two. So obviously this indicates something very important. Why? Because in a unilateral contract, as we will see, the obligation is imposed on just one party, whereas in a bilateral contract, both of the parties are under an obligation to perform their side of the contract. Since this is so important, let me repeat it once. That is, a bilateral contract is one that obligates all of the parties to the contract to perform according to their promises. So this is usually a contract which comprises the exchange of a promise for a promise. For example, if you pay me $1,000, I promise to sell you my car. On the other hand, a unilateral contract is a contract in which one party is only obligated to fulfill a contractual promise if and only if another party first performs a particular act. Now, let me give an example to illustrate this. We've all come across advertisements which contain an offer of a reward for the return of lost or stolen property. For example, let's say somebody says that whoever finds my lost dog, I'm going to reward him or her with £500. Although of course most of the times these awards are in the context of information leading to the capture of, for example, a criminal. So you see, in unilateral contracts, like I said earlier, only one of the parties is obliged to fulfill a contractual promise once the other party actually does what has been requested. In order to understand unilateral contracts, let's look at the famous English case of Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company. So in this case, what happened is that in a newspaper advertisement, the Carbolic Smoke Ball Company stated that it would pay £100 to any person who became ill with flu despite having used the smoke ball as directed, and that the company, in order to show its sincerity, had also deposited £1,000 in a bank account to make sure that people are actually going to be paid that particular amount, that is £100 to any person who became ill, that is who fell sick despite taking the smoke ball as directed. Now this advertisement was obviously an offer to the whole world, that is to anybody who came across the advertisement, and this offer was accepted by a lady named Mrs. Carlyle when she used the smoke ball as directed and then fell sick despite having taken the smoke ball. Now the very first point to notice about this case is that, as you can see, an offer can sometimes be made to the world at large, and in these kind of situations, an offer can be accepted by anybody, that is any party who performs the necessary actions. The second point to note is that this is an example of a unilateral offer and not an invitation to treat, even though, as we have seen in an earlier lecture, that newspaper advertisements and advertisements generally are usually considered to be invitations to treat. And the reason that this particular advertisement was instead construed as an offer is because of the fact that the company had indicated in its willingness to be bound as soon as anybody accepted the offer. So, and this willingness to be bound was indicated by their actions, that is, they had deposited £1,000 in the bank account already. And if you're still not clear as to why this should be considered as an offer instead of an invitation to make an offer or an invitation to treat, then you should refer back to the video lectures where I discussed the difference between these two, that is, how an invitation to treat is different from an offer. And since this point is so important, I'm going to repeat it just once more. That is, even though generally newspaper advertisements and other sorts of advertisements are usually considered to be invitations to treat and not as offers, but in this particular case, since the company had done everything they could on their part, that is, they had even deposited the required amount of money in the bank account for let's say about 10 people that they were expecting to fall sick despite the fact that they had taken the smoke ball. So this was all that they they could do on their part, which is why this particular advertisement counts as an offer and not as an invitation to treat. The other point to note is that unilateral contracts are most often found in reward situations. So just in case you're confused between the two, remember that unilateral contracts are usually just found in reward situations where, for example, you offer to pay £25 to anyone who returns your lost wallet. Then in this situation, your offer is not obligating anyone to perform the act. That is, your offer is not obliging anybody. Nobody is under the obligation to actually perform what you have requested, that is to start looking for your wallet. No, nobody is under that obligation, not at all. However, if anyone does perform that act, that is, if anyone does actually find your lost wallet and return it to you, then you are obligated to pay £25 to that person. So if you notice, in both bilateral and unilateral contracts, the contract is obviously ultimately between two parties, obviously, right? However, as the prefix uni and bi indicates, in each of these kinds of contracts, that is, one is a unilateral contract and the other one is a bilateral contract, the difference lies in the fact that in a unilateral contract only one party is bound, whereas in a bilateral contract both of the parties are bound from the outset. In a unilateral contract, I said only one party is bound because at the outset, originally it's just one party who is bound, that is, they have to pay the relevant reward to whoever responds to their advertisement. So you see, in this particular situation, nobody in the world is bound to actually respond to an offer for a reward, but in case that somebody does respond and actually finds the stolen or lost property or actually provides the information which leads to the capture of a criminal, then in this case, in the unilateral contract, that is, the other party who had promised that this or that reward is going to be paid to the person who performs, then in this case that party is definitely bound. So you see, like I said earlier, only one party is bound in a unilateral contract, that is, the person who has offered the reward is going to be bound to give that reward, to pay that reward to anybody who performs. But on the other hand, nobody is actually obliged to perform. So if somebody does perform, then the person who made the promise is bound to actually pay the reward. But if nobody performs, then that person cannot force anybody to perform a unilateral contract. Just in case the difference is still not clear to you, I'd advise you to listen to this lecture once more and think about it for a while, and hopefully the difference will become clear.